Hello and welcome to the East Lampeter Township Public Meeting. All participants are now informed that this meeting is being recorded. This meeting is also being offered virtually utilizing Zoom, which is a cloud-based platform for remote video and audio conferencing. The Zoom application is free to the public. The general public is therefore able to join the meeting by connection through the internet or by calling in by phone. The public is also able to observe the meeting on the Township's YouTube channel. Please continue to check the Township website calendar for any updates related to these public meetings. Agendas for these public meetings will also be available on the Township's website. Please be reminded that this meeting is being video and audio recorded and will be posted to the Township's YouTube channel for viewing. The meeting will now proceed with the chairman calling the meeting to order and identifying all other members present in the meeting room and those joining the meeting via Zoom. The chairman will then confirm those members joining by Zoom can be heard.
Thank you very much. Okay, so good evening. Welcome to the Monday, June 20th, 2022 meeting of the East Lampeter Township Board of Supervisors. Joining me in the room this evening is Supervisor Demi, Supervisor Root. On our Zoom remote, two other members of the board, Corey Meyer. Corey, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you loud and clear.
Thank you, sir. And second is Mike Thornton. Mike, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Nice to see you, Mike. Thank you for joining. Appreciate that. Okay, now that we've got everyone accounted for, there are agendas in the back of the room if you'd like to grab one on the table. There's also a place to sign in if you would as well. We need that for the public record going forward. Okay, item number 2 is pledge to the flag. If you'd please rise and join me in pledging to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hey, Mike, just a reminder, don't forget to mute your mic if you would. Okay. Item number 3, public comment for non-agenda items only. Anyone here who would like to address the board for items that are not on this evening's agenda? Anyone online, guys? Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Okay. Moving on to item number 4, our consent agenda. We have several items. 4A is the approval of this evening, June 20th, 2022, Board of Supervisors agenda. 4B is approval of the minutes of the Monday, June 6th, 2022 regular meeting of this board, and then approval to pay invoices from all funds in the total of $154,577.57. And there is an item of note, $11,072.99, which is reimbursement to one of our 4 fire companies, Hand in Hand Fire Company, for their annual insurance premium. That is from December 21 through December 22nd, we're reimbursing. And for their fuel, I guess that is a July and a November invoices from 2021. So a number of years ago, we restructured the way we are supporting our 4 fire companies, in addition to a fantastic contribution from the taxpayers for their apparatus replacement. We do cover some additional bills, and that insurance and fuel are 2 of those. So, okay, those are the items of note for paying invoices. That's the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Is there a second? Second. Okay, second. Thank you, Mike. Motion is made by Ethan, second by Mike. Concerns, questions about the motion? Hearing none. Those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Corey and Mike. I'll handle that a little better next time. So thanks, guys. All right, we have a guest in the room this evening. Item number 5, Commissioner Truscott. In order to capture everything you're going to talk about on our Zoom, you can pull that mic right off of there. It should be on. Is it on, Tara? Good. You can pull that right off there if you would. And introduce yourself, and we can have a conversation. There you go.
Hello. Yep. Okay. Hi. My name is John Trescott. I'm a appointed elected official. I was appointed county commissioner to finish out a term of Craig Lehman. So I'm a county commissioner, 1-3 until the end of 2023. I'll go ahead and say right now, I'm not a politician. I didn't run for the office. I was appointed, and I'm not running for the office after the term of the appointment because that was part of the agreement, was that I would not run again. So I'm trying to accomplish something in the 22 months I'm here. What I'm here to do today is not to talk about me because I'm not running for office. I want to talk about the county, and then I want to give the people here a chance to ask questions. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. What I'm trying to do is I'm going around to various township offices, boroughs around down the Eden Township and Clay, offering to do this because the county commissioners, or two of the three of us, do not want to have many evening meetings or meetings when people can come to the county commission. So I'm trying to turn it around and come to you. Real quickly, the county government is a $265 million a year organization. About $91 million of that comes from state grants, which mainly go to things like Children and Youth Agency, Office of Aging, behavioral health, other things. The balance of that, other 170 million, comes from your property taxes, comes from fees, when you register a will, when you do a deed, when you're on probation. With that money, the county runs everything from the county coroner's office to Parks and Recreation to the county prison to facilities, the 911 system, the emergency management system, again, a children and youth agency, a children and youth intervention center, a lot of kind of disparate things that all come under the auspices of the county commissioners. The county commissioners also do something kind of interesting, but not on a daily basis, is we do a lot of the appointing of people to the statutory boards around the county for things like the Solid Waste Authority or the South Central Transit Authority or the Convention Authority. All these different things have to do where the appoint people to those boards, but the county commissioners are not involved in supervising the boards once that's happened. So it's both a lot of power and very little power to do that. But we're trying to make that information about the boards, something I've been doing recently, more available, more easily accessed, so that people can look at it on the website and find it easily and apply for it. Because we always have vacancies. It's a very good thing for people to do. So the county government is about 1,636 people now, down from a target of closer to 2,000 people. Last year, the county had a turnover of 25% and started the year with almost 400 open positions, of which we still have hundreds and hundreds. So it's a problem. We're addressing it. We're trying to, and everybody's having the same situation around the county and the country. Different things that came up for me. My background is I'm an engineer. Though the first job I ever had when I was still in high school was working at the East Palaca Fruit Market, which was a vegetable stand on the side of the road. And I know how to, if you want to have really good boiled peanuts, I know the recipe, but only if I do it in a 55-gallon drum, because that's made. But now then I became an engineer. I've lived around the world. I moved here to Lancaster County in 2009 from Beijing, China. My wife and I. And then I retired 6 years ago. And then the opportunity came to apply for this job as commissioner. I didn't run for office. I was one of 12 people who went in front of the county Board of Common Pleas judges and applied. And I think they were looking for someone who had a business background. And I'm a moderate Democrat. I like fiscal responsibility, but I like working with people. And I let politics just go by me because I don't really get that involved, and I respond when I need to hold something I think is a lie, maybe. But basically, I'm really focused on how does the county do better? How does the county government do better? If at the end of my time, I can say that the county government runs a little bit better because I help the county staff do their jobs a little bit better and a little bit easier, then I will consider it a successful time. The other thing I'm trying to do, like I said, is get out and give people opportunity to ask questions to the commissioners, because we tend to have morning meetings that nobody can get to. So I wanted to come out and do that. And that was it. That's my little quick spiel, at which time I would say, ask me a question. To the best of my knowledge and capability, I will answer it.
Thank you, John. I appreciate the introduction and the summary of what you're seeing county government is at this point, and presenting it to the residents. Before this board has anything to say, any of the residents, anything for John? It's your opportunity.
Go ahead. I can see you want to.
Yeah.
I no. Oh, come on.
I'm just an engineer too.
Oh.
We always play down over on the engineer table.
That's a good,
Yes,
that's a good conversation right there.
It's a good way to do. I will say again, for the county, with those 1,636 people, we have some people with tremendous experience, 40 years working with the county and stuff. And then when we drop down, we got a big gap in there. The county's going to have a problem with staffing in the future, in the gap between so many really good experienced people, and then you drop down from 40 years experience to 8 or 5 or 3. So that is a concern.
Anyone, questions? I'll start if I can,
Okay.
John.
Yeah. No.
So once again, thank you for doing this. I do appreciate the spirit of what you're trying to do, and it is to get out in the evenings and introduce people to county government. You did miss a revenue source, and there is an income tax that the county does get from
Yes.
most people. So this current board of commissioners, as many of the previous board of commissioners, like to present that they don't have to raise taxes to balance budgets, and I get that. We're all in those similar types of roles, but as you made a case from your private sector experience, I'll make the same case. It's tough to provide a service no matter what your business is if you're losing 25% of your personnel on an annual basis. And we all experienced it over the past 3 or 4 years or so. But to be down 400 employees concerns me greatly, that either we had too many people on the payroll, and so we aren't missing those 400, or we haven't right-sized what county government can do with the staff that it has, and so we're just maxing out personnel and they're getting out. What is it?
Well, it's a couple things. When almost 100 of those positions were at the county prison, and the county prison probably did get pretty close to being non-functional. They shut down all kinds of services and everything, both with COVID. Now we're down about 52 people, but that was part of going through and having a new union contract and raising salaries on the prison. So all the services in the prison are now open. The Warren's doing a real good job at that. And when you talk about whether we're doing services, and I have the exact same statement when I came in and started looking at the Controller's annual report starting back to 2018. So I went through 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021 one should come out in a couple of weeks. And you look at it and you find we've had shortage of people. A lot of it in places like behavioral health, developmental services, children and youth, things where I'm guessing those aren't the people who get to yell loudest that they're not getting service and be heard up above. The probation office, surprisingly enough, adult probation, they just keep people, don't know why, but that's 100 people who just stay going. We are adjusting salaries because it did finally but historically, yes, the county commission was very thumbs down on the work that needed to be done to retain and train and keep people. I'm very much for it. My experience in private industry is you're much better off if somebody's good to keep them than you are losing them and hiring somebody in for typically more money than you could have paid to keep them. And typically then you don't know them for sure. And B, you now have to take time for them to become functional in the organization. So I'm very much on doing that. The county revenue stream has been revenue, not expensive, but the revenue stream has been remarkably stable over the years. Every year, the county increases about between $500,000 and $1 million worth of property taxes. That's a major tax revenue that's accumulated. And in most places, the sales tax, the school tax is much higher than the county tax. But that rate goes up a little bit as more property comes on. Everything else are fees from when you're on probation. You have to pay fees. We get fees from the 911 system. So the 911 system, everyone's using their telephone line, telephones, handheld, anything. That pretty much is a net neutral. We do transfer, again, I'll pick children and youth. The state pays 80% of those salaries. The county pays 20%. As opposed to domestic relations where 100% is paid by the state. So, and it's a very confusing organization because you've got multiple funding sources. You've got multiple unions that are negotiating different things. The DAs and the public defenders have the same union. Okay. And then the police have another one. There's another one for social workers, and there's another one for the sheriffs. And so we're going through the various things and the people who aren't under it. And to add a little more fun to the complexity, we have what are called row officers. That's the other elected officials, the controller, the recorder of deeds, the treasurer, people like that. They have their own little fiefdoms inside the county government where we support them, and they have to work through the commissioners and the HR for salaries and other things. But they have the total right to hire and fire their staff under their organization. So it's not this, as a county commissioner, it's not like we're at the top of the pyramid. We're kind of flattened off the pyramid with a bunch of little pyramids around us. And then the court system is its own empire of people that are elected for 7 or 10 years and municipal district judges scattered all over the place who have their own thing. So again, very different than my background. You know, if you want to know how to build a 250,000 ton per day copper concentrator, come to me. But as to try and figure out what is the right pay for somebody who has to look in a film of somebody abusing a 2-year-old girl and it's his uncle. I don't know what that person should be getting paid to do that and do that work.
Yeah. Tough one. Questions, concerns from the board? Roger?
No question. So if you would boil down to two things that you're most concerned about at the county level, what would those two items be?
Well, the first is personnel.
Okay.
And I think we hit on that some, and that's been from the first time I got in there. The second thing is really getting more into what we do with the money. Right now, the county, from CARES Act money and ARPA fund money and other money, the county actually didn't, during the pandemic, the county didn't lose revenue. Everybody paid their taxes. People kept getting married. Wills kept getting done in. Fines were done. The only thing we lost any money on was foreclosures, which the sheriff takes a percentage from on housing foreclosures that would help pay for that. That was about the only place in the whole county government that really had a decrease in revenue. So while we have, though, taken in other money, the county's rainy day fund and budget is really high. And my concern is how we spend that money, especially like the ARPA money. We got $106 million from ARPA. About 20 million of it has already been allocated either through what's called lost revenue, which we didn't lose, but we were able to take down to the bottom line. I'd like to see what we're going to do with that money for the county for long-term investment. It's a one-time opportunity. So long-term investment. And, you know, we do a great job preserving farms. 100,000 acres of farms, 117,361 acres of farms preserved between the county money and the Lancaster Farmland Trust. But since 2007 was the last time we purchased parkland in the county, and that was 25 acres in 2007. You know, so we're not looking at facilities or things that are going to benefit the county for 30 years. So we need to do something with and to go big. I'm hopeful we're starting to do that now. There's going to be water projects and sewer projects and other things that money will get spent for. And I'll go one last thing for you, two, but I'll pick three. We have a new jail we're going to be building, and that's going to be $150 million project. How that is done so that it meets the requirements of security, the guards, efficiency, but also looking at, It's a jail, no one's there for more than a year and a half, 2 years max. Most people in that facility, 62% of them aren't guilty of anything yet. They're just waiting for the justice system to get around to them. A lot of drug and alcohol problems. How are we setting that up so that these people who aren't going to be in there very long and be back in our society are taken care of a little bit better, certainly than they do have now. Okay.
Good. Appreciate that, Roger. Corey, Mike, anything?
Good. I appreciate you coming to the meeting. If we do have time, I did have one question about EMS funding. Just any thoughts on how we might be able to better fund EMS in this county?
Okay, this has come up, not in county commission discussion per se, though it has dribbled around a little bit, is the idea, what you do, because you've got all the different EMS private units around the Northeast, something, and different things around. I'm not 100% sure, and I'm going to give an answer that isn't, here's the right way to do it, just here's something that's come to my mind. If you take the South Central Transit Authority, they run the Red Rose Transit. People that go around to pick up elderly or invalid or people who can't travel. They own all those vans, but they subcontract to somebody else all of the operations and maintenance of those vans. So the South Central is the capital buyer of the stuff and the land for it to go on and major maintenance stuff, other things. Somebody else then is getting paid to operate it. So if I had to pick a model, and I don't know enough detail to really answer this, and I probably never will, but it seemed to me that countywide, you could look at the capital purchasing and support of EMS, and then have that be more subcontracted to different operators, but that is part of the whole county organization because all the vehicles and equipment belong to the county. So there would be a more emphasis on a county-wide support as opposed to each individual EMS, and take some of the financial burden off the individual companies. I'll just focus on that thing.
Good creative idea. Mike, question?
No, I just had the ARPA funds and the prison as questions, and I appreciate you going through those.
Good. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. Ethan, anything?
More of a comment on, so 2 comments on things you've already raised. One is just a quick one. When you look back through the controller's reports, controller had put forward a request to do a salary study in 2019 that was voted down by the commissioners at the time because there was plenty of issues with the levels of pay already. It'd be my recommendation, maybe see if the commissioners would revisit that. That's something we did as a board many years ago, and then we took a path to right size all our positions over the last decade. So it's a slow process, but starting with, hey, where are we in relation to all of our other regional folks who are looking for the same personnel, making sure we're paying folks fairly. So that's something that had been started at the county that had failed in the past. The other one is one of the things that I think our township has done well, and it's sort of one thing we try to do is how can we look for regional cooperation, whether it's with the county or our neighboring municipalities. EMS is one of those. And then stormwater is another one. Everyone's doing their own little stormwater fees and getting their MS4. One presentation that we had early on was what's the difference between everyone doing it themselves versus a region doing it, and the cost savings once you get maybe a dozen municipalities involved, you can save 86%. You can save a lot of money if you work at a regional level, but that requires that leadership at the county level to achieve those savings. And we have examples of that. One good example is the county has the Solid Waste Authority. So if you look at Laxwama, we have one of the top solid waste authorities in the country, if not definitely in the state. So we have an example where the county took leadership on an issue, created an authority, staffed that authority, created a funding stream for it that has clearly saved the taxpayers of this county millions of dollars since that was created. We don't have to have regional, every municipality doesn't have to have their own dump because now we do it at the county level. And so that's an example of, hey, we've done this. We have a path. That's good government. We can do that again, whether it's EMS, stormwater, or other things. And that's just sort of, as you're working through all of this, that's where I think the biggest wins, and I know this board would be happy to encourage those efforts, is how can we work more collaboratively and address the regional problem, not just try to save, a couple $100,000 from a budget for 1 year, but how do we achieve those 30-year cost savings?
Okay, let me go to the second one first. In one respect, because the county government is really not an executive type level government. When you say it's the county commissioners for the county government, the actual functioning of all the stuff going on in the county really comes through your groups, the supervisor level, that the county has, again, lots of different support things that go across the county, but it's not really an executive, thing. The mayor is an executive of something. You're the executive for the commission, the supervisors to do things. The county commissioners, while we have a lot of staff, again, we have row officers, we've got the judges do their thing, the EMS, the 911 system is over here and this is over there. So having that sort of thing isn't other than planning. We seem to do pretty good in planning. I think we have a hell of a good planning department with Scott Standish and his team. But I personally like the idea of having more regional things and having more of that done. I'll admit, as I stand here, I don't know how to move something like that forward in the current county commission office. I'd like to talk about it more and see if there's a way to do that. I don't have enough experience in government to say I'd like to make a motion to do something, but I think we can do things more collaboratively, and there is interest from various parts. It's just trying to find a strong enough advocate who is waving the flag and pulling people together. And I'll jump on someone's bandwagon, but I'm not.
I think you just captured it, John, probably right there in that last part. The role of the county commissioner could be a very strong bully pulpit position. In the time that you have, it's very limited in what you can do. Back to Ethan's point, drug task force. So the DTF is one of those issues right now that could use someone at the county level looking for a way to move the funding stream to a more equitable, regional, reliable, consistent level, consistent source. And it has the potential, it has for decades, had the potential to be one of those very strong, collaborative, regional, as Ethan was just saying, services that the county can provide. So we could use that at the bully pulpit.
Regarding the drug task force, I think Heather Adams, the DA, is actually taken over that job well, and I think she is actively doing things. We've taken away the funding that was done by confiscation of things going into the drug task force pocket. It goes back into county funds to be reallocated on an actual, like it's funding, not them living on what they eat, eating what they capture. So I think that makes a big difference on how that organization goes. But I've been impressed with Heather Adams of what she is trying to do and her efforts those ways. So ideas you have with the DTF is best to her. And I think she'd be glad to talk about it and work on it. Going back to your first question, which I'm going to answer last after two other questions, I didn't forget. That's a good thing. There was a study apparently done in the county, maybe in 2014 or 15, I forget the time, for looking at all the levels of things in the county. And it was a nice big thick report and the county paid for it. And it was put somewhere in the shelf over here and never seen again. What we have though is we have a very good HR manager. She joined about a year ago, Ms. Michelle Gallo. good experience with high industry and LGH. And we have been, I came in, oh, I'm in the private industry, let me change things. But sitting down with her, she explained where she was going on salary. So there is a program for taking the 20 different clerk names and titles and condensing it down and getting the job description the same, and surveying in the counties around us, looking at what those jobs should pay. So that comes into further discussion in the next month or two. And I've dedicated to not jumping up and down as a private industry guy and trying to change things, because what I see Michelle doing is exactly the right thing. A lot of feedback from the other departments. It hasn't been done unilaterally. Everybody's gotten a chance to give input on it. And therefore that's going in that direction. Will it be the final thing, the right answer? No, but it's going to address a lot of the people who aren't now within unions or something else in the county government. But I'm going to let her finish it and bring it to the commissioner. So I'm not going to push for some, people, we need to change this. It's just try and do it systematically.
Good for you. I'd be remiss if I didn't cover just a couple things before I let you go. So we're in the midst of many projects, with some of the larger ones that we've been tracking and funding and seeking funding for and putting staff time towards it is our Lincoln Highway Streetscape project. So roughly Strasburg Pike to 896, but you can scoop into that the Bridgeport Mobility Project that runs just about that location west towards the Conestoga River and the city. 170 million plus, and still counting. Significant project. The Walnut Street Exchange, if you're familiar with what PennDOT and high companies are about to begin, probably any day now, any week now, sometime this summer. Going to break ground in right behind Costco. Going to use a portion of the goat path, and that's going to be a significant project for us. In tandem with that is a multimodal pathway that we're working on to connect with what the city has been doing. So coming out the east end of the city in Walnut Street and then heading east out through the eastern part of the county. So, bike, walking, hiking, and so forth. Always looking for ways to continue to build that out and head east. What else, Ralph? The 2024 Women's Open. So all of this has to happen and has to take place, and some of it has to get finished before the world starts to look at East Lampeter and Heim Township and the Lancaster Country Club hosting of the 2024 U.S. Women's Open. So pretty significant projects, all trying to put in place infrastructure and improve those 30-year time horizons, 50-year time horizons, all while businesses need to keep operating and tourism needs to keep going. So we put those towards you.
Yeah, good news. We have tourism seems to have rebounded. The hotel occupancy is back at 2019 levels. That's good. The convention center is getting things done. Like I said, we have those kind of projects. We have some serious issues with water and air in the county. As beautiful it is, we still drain a lot of stuff into the water. I'm hoping that we'll spend some more of the ARPA funds on that. If you go online now on the county website, you can see both where all the ARPA funds of the county has been approved to be spent, and also all the applications by all the organizations in the county to date who have applied for it. And each of those will get a hearing if they meet the qualifications as set up by the county. So we will continue to do that throughout the summer. We'll be voting on those allocations.
Good. Excellent. Thank you, John. Anything else? Corey, Mike, anything?
Nope, thank you.
Good. Okay, staff, anything, Ralph? Okay, Roger, Ethan. Okay, John. Anyone else from the audience? Nothing. Okay.
Well, like I said, I had no idea what I'm supposed to do as a commissioner. So I'm kind of just doing this free fall, but this is what I think should be done, is coming out and listening to you all and giving you a chance to give feedback. And I'll now get out of your way. I've taken a half an hour of your meeting. I apologize, but thank you very much for the
Great.
invite.
Thanks
Nice
for
meeting you
coming.
all.
Thank you, John.
It's a beautiful part of the county. Y'all take care.
Thanks for coming out.
Thanks for
Appreciate
coming
that.
out.
Thank you. Yep, there you go. Perfect. Thanks, John. Take care of yourself. Good luck to you. Okay. So moving on to old business, 6A, we have a request for reduction of financial security, Pine Hill Trailers Plan number 2115, Lincoln Highway East. Ralph Engineer is suggesting that we go ahead and make some reduction there. What do we have? What's remaining? 31,504. Okay, great. Thank you. Anyone here for this issue? None? Okay. All right. Is there a motion?
Is a motion to approve the reduction for the Pine Hill Trailers Stormwater Plan.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made by Roger, seconded by Ethan. Questions or concerns? Okay, hearing none, I'll start with Corey. Corey?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Roger?
Aye.
Ethan?
Aye.
Okay, chair says aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, item number 6B, a request for time extension to record conditionally approved plan number 21-25, Stoidler 2599 Old Philadelphia Pike. Staff, you're good with this 90-day time?
Yeah, the
request?
applicant's still working through some of the conditions of approval and, yeah, no problem.
Looks like it's still moving forward.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to grant a 90-day extension.
Is there a second? Okay, motion by Ethan, second by Mike. Corey?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Roger?
Aye.
Ethan?
Aye.
Chair says aye. Motion carries. Thank you. 6C, time extension for township review and action for Dutch Wonderland Stormwater Management Plan number 22-09, 2249 Lincoln Highway East. Is there anyone here for this project? None. Okay. Looks like they've reviewed the letter or they're working through the review from April 14th from the township engineer. And any concerns here? No. Okay. All right, so they're looking for 90 days, additional 90 days. Is there a motion?
Motion to accept.
Okay. Motion
Second.
by Mike. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. We'll give that one to Corey, right? He gives the
Thanks.
Thanks, Corey. Motion by Mike, second by Corey. Corey,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Roger,
Aye.
Ethan.
Aye.
Chair says aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, item number 7, new business. 7A, King Stormwater Management Plan number 21-33, 419 Mount Sydney Road. Is there someone here on this plan? Okay, you want to step up, state your name, and then you might as well just grab that and hold it. It's easy to do that.
Mark Myers, I'm with Team Ag Incorporated. I'm here on behalf of Henry King.
You probably have to hold that, unfortunately, for them to hear you. So absolutely, right here. Put that right here, you bet. And I'm assuming you have seen the David Miller letter, the township engineer letter, May 27?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Good. That's all right. Catch. Perfect. Yep, you're good.
So basically, Henry King has a 65-acre farm, a beef and poultry farm located at 419 Mount Sydney Road. And we're here tonight for a stormwater plan that we've been working through comments with David Miller Associates. Proposed project, basically, well, let me give you a background of the farm. We have a bank barn, a cattle lot in the back, and back in 2015, there was a poultry barn that was approved under a stormwater management plan in the township. There are two driveway accesses to the farm. There's a 50-foot easement off of Mount Sidney Road, and then there's also a driveway out to Southview Farm. Southview Road here. So we are proposing to do some barn improvements and a minor realignment of an existing driveway. The barn improvements would consist of a horse barn. It's currently a horse lot. That would be an open pole barn structure. And then behind the existing bank barn, we would expand the cattle area. It's currently a dirt pasture that is part of the NRCS plan. We're putting in a concrete lot of 5,800 square feet with a curbing and a manure runoff collection system with the manure storage. As far as the stormwater improvements, we will be collecting roof runoff from the new horse barn and part of the existing barn. And we will be piping that to an underground, the roof drains to an underground stone infiltration bed, which would be located east of the new barns. We do have, I mentioned the minor driveway alignment here at Southview Road. The driveway is currently roughly a 10-foot wide stone driveway, very close to the existing property line. And in order to meet the township clear site triangle requirements, with a 50-foot site triangle, that driveway in its existing location would encroach onto the neighboring property to the east, which is owned by Schellenberg. So to avoid encroaching into his property, we're shifting our existing driveway west about 12 feet so that clear site triangle doesn't approach. We're also widening the driveway to allow truck turning in and out of the site so they can safely move. The existing driveway up by Mount Sidney is very tight. And there's no way the trucks would be able to do that. So back in 2015, I mentioned about the stormwater plan we did for the existing poultry barn. That's been built. There was a stormwater basin, infiltration basin that was associated with that, and that has since been built. We did an as-built survey showing it does have capacity. So between the new impervious area and then the previous impervious area between the existing stormwater basin and the proposed stone infiltration bed, we comply with the stormwater requirements. I think there was some concern about the previous plan, that stormwater plan was approved. I think David Miller, the May 27th letter, mentioned about the stormwater plan was not recorded. Financial security wasn't posted. I'm not sure what happened there, but I know we did get the stormwater plan approved. And Mr. King indicated that he did acquire the permits for that original poultry farm. So there's roughly 5 comments in their review letter, and they're fairly minor in nature. They're requesting infiltration testing to be done at the time of construction. The stone infiltration bed, we provided that. We clarified some of the improvements. There's an existing cistern in the poultry barn that Mr. King is directing roof water into the cistern, and then he reuses that for water supply for his poultry. The overflow from the cistern drains into the stormwater basin. So technically, the cistern it's not really a regulated stormwater facility. It's just a water reuse, and because it's in series with the stormwater basin, that we're not really taking any stormwater management credits for that.
Okay.
And David Miller was requesting some additional information as the pipe inverts in and out, and the size of the cistern. And then the lot coverage, we clarified that. I think there was a comment about the drainage easement that we There's a few minor inconsistencies.
Mhm.
So basically, we were hoping for a conditional recommendation of conditional stormwater approval, subject to meeting David Miller's comments.
Okay.
And also, we did do a cost opinion, engineer's cost opinion, 39,000. That is still subject to David Miller's review.
Mhm.
But we basically wanted to know if maybe we could request the board's approval of whatever David Miller recommends on the financial security.
Okay. David Miller's letter of May 27th is acknowledging items that have come forth from you all on the 19th of May. So I'm assuming that.
Okay. They just haven't.
Referencing your May 19th letter here is what it's calling out. Okay. You called into to attention the prior stormwater management plan and then subsequently the improvements that were made without that in place. So we're capturing all of that.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we
Okay.
were required to put a summary on the plan
Mhm.
of the impervious area that existed on the farm pre-2015.
Mhm.
And then the additional poultry barn plus the new improvements.
Okay.
So all that's accounted for.
Okay.
For MS4 purposes.
Good. Staff, good with the David Miller letter, the items that have been pointed out there. Okay.
Yeah, the only other thing that staff would like to emphasize is that the applicant needs to get a permit for the driveway. So there's a
For the
driveway,
realignment.
right, yeah,
Okay.
driveway permit
Yeah.
process
Okay.
to be followed there.
I just have a question. So is there a reason you're not showing the breakout on the lots on the Sherman and Walton?
I think this was from the 2015
I was gonna
plan. and
say,
they were
that's how-
subsequent to that, so they don't show up, but yeah, you're right, there is a cul-de-sac street here. And our barn improvements are way
Okay, so-
southeast of those lots.
So drawing those lots in doesn't affect anything that's going on with this plan?
No, as far as setbacks.
Okay, good. All right.
There was some stormwater management facilities included in the development of that cul-de-sac. So
Okay.
they're all on the property owners within the cul-de-sac. They don't come across the property line.
I wondered the same thing, Roger, and then as you mentioned, 2015 again.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking at.
Right.
Yeah, all of the stormwater from the project drains to the south.
Right.
To the, is it the Bear Farm?
Questions, concerns? None. Corey, Mike, any comment on?
Nope, we're following.
Obviously, the point I was stressing is just that, being reassured that the stormwater management plan will now be addressed and everything will be captured from prior and also this current plan. Okay,
That's good.
okay, good. Glad to see the improvements to the driveway, the lane coming off of Southview and avoiding Mount Sydney if we can. Trying to push as much as we can at this point to some other roads. Mount Sydney is continuing to get attention from neighbors and trying to ensure an ag business can continue to operate in that neighborhood. It requires that we get some of this away from each other, non-ag and ag. So, okay. All right. Okay. All right. I think we've had the discussion. Staff mentioned obviously getting a permit for that lane on Southview. So, all right. Hearing anything else, we'll probably finish with your presentation.
Yes.
That's the vote. Anyone from the public, questions, concerns about the project as presented? Okay. All right. Let's see what the board wants to do. So, okay, board, you've heard the presentation. Applicant addressed the May 27th DMA letter, the township engineer's letter and issues, and staff has raised and applicant has recognized the need to proceed forward with getting permits for the realigned drive on Southview. So what's your interest?
I make a motion to conditionally approve the plan subject to the township engineer's review comments and township engineer's acceptance of the financial calculation.
Okay, motion from Ethan. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion by Ethan, second by Roger. Questions or concerns? Motion? Nothing coming through. Public comment, Tara. Thank you. Okay, Corey,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Roger,
Aye.
Ethan.
Aye.
Chair says aye. Motion carries. Okay, thank you very much. Good luck with your project. All right, thank you. Okay, moving on. Item number 7B. Stolzfus Land Development Plan number 22-01, 264 Maple Avenue. There you go. You're on. Just pull her right out of there.
Okay,
So state your name if you would.
sure. Good evening. My name is Jason Shaner of Impact Engineering Group. Here tonight representing the Christian A. Stolzfus Jr. plan. Christian A. Stolzfus Jr. is in the back row in green shirt. This project is located at 264 Maple Avenue, just to the south of, maybe 600 feet south of Route 340. Across the street from here, sort of diagonally, is the Burden Hand Farm Market. Just to get your bearings. This deed is owned by Christian, his father, and his one brother. It's actually two existing lots on a common deed. So 264 Maple Avenue, there's an existing house real close to Maple Avenue at the northernmost corner.
Good, thank you, Tom. Yeah, appreciate it.
That's a half-acre lot. The other lot is 7 acres currently. This plan proposes to realign that common lot line to produce 2 lots that are generally 3 3/4 acres in size. The southern lot is proposed to remain vacant, so there's no improvements there. The northern lot is proposed to, the existing dwelling and structures are to be raised. And there's a dwelling going to be dwelling and a attached garage, barn structure. That's going to be built in the rear of the property to the west, closer to the railroad line. And then there's a 12,000 square foot manufacturing building proposed to be built at a distance 25 feet from the Maple Avenue, which is a requirement of your Burden Hand zoning district. We've been making progress with this outside of public meetings. So the plan is at a state where I believe there's no outstanding technical comments that need to be touched up on the plan. David Miller and Associates' most recent letter is dated June 1st. There's some waivers and deferrals listed initially on that letter. On page 3, under subdivision and land development, we discussed at your planning commission and your zoning officer that due to a significant quantity of arborvitae along the northern property line, no additional landscaping is warranted under the Burden and standards. The sewer provider, we've been communicating with them, and that's hopefully near the tail end. That's item number 2. Item number 3 is a cost estimate for financial security, which has been presented to your township engineer.
Okay.
Number 4 is a park and rec fee. We did present a financial amount for consideration to the township. The applicant utilized a real estate broker for an appraisal value. I did the math through the 2.5%.
Okay.
I didn't know if that's a separate vote or what happens from here, but we did present that to your planning.
Okay.
Did you?
Do we have that?
We do.
Okay.
There was,
Okay. Okay.
yeah, there was some back and forth on that internally about the amount. Do you want to share any more about how you calculated the amount?
Well, our rationale, we came up with a value per acre.
Mhm.
There is a letter prepared by their real estate professional. And then applying the obtaining a ratio of dollars per acres, we applied that to the 2.5% required area and output a financial figure. I think it was just rounding off $16,900.
Okay.
Staff recalculated that.
Okay.
And from I'll say my perspective in looking at this, there is an existing dwelling there. They're replacing that with another dwelling. So it's just sort of offset in my view. Where that dwelling is going to be located, it's taking up about half of the property that's going to be developed. So the other half is the 12,000 square foot manufacturing building. So what I was suggesting was that the 2.5% be applied to only that half of the property that's being developed using the assessed value that they provided. We came up with $1,320 as a more appropriate park and rec fee than.
So you're negating this half that's got the dwelling that's basically being replaced.
Right, there's an existing dwelling there. There's going to be a new dwelling. That just is sort of a wash from our perspective.
Yeah.
So really the only thing that's new is a 12,000 square foot building. That's roughly half of the property that's being developed. So that's how we developed. And again, we think, 1,320 is a more reasonable amount for what's being developed here than the way the applicant calculated it. So we'd offer that in the alternative for the board's consideration.
Okay. Sure. Board, Corey, Mike, thoughts? Ethan, Roger?
Yeah, it's much better.
Yeah.
Much
Okay.
better.
I think it's much more in line with the way the property is being developed. So, okay.
Well, thank you for that.
I don't think you're going to fight that, Brian.
No, might not attempt to do that math again.
Yeah, got it. All right, so item number 4,
Thank you.
we've covered item number 4. So, okay, so that's subdivision land development. Under waivers and modifications. Let's just talk about a couple of those if we can. So, item number 1 is letters recommending that we grant it. So, item number 2, final plan scale. Item number 3, sidewalks, curbs, all those improvements and so forth. Roadway widening. The engineer is looking at perhaps maybe granting us some deferrals here. I think we're going to probably want to have some conversation here just about improvements to the frontage. Over the past 8 years or so, prior board, now this new board, we have been working with property owners to be realistic about where we're trying to put in infrastructure and where we think it could be deferred. Some of what we're doing is catching up on where property owners have been for decades, and a lot of deferrals, and it makes sense in some instances. And so we've gone back through and asked property owners to now revisit some of those. There are properties surrounding this that we have deferred. And so I think we're probably looking for a conversation with you all that doesn't defer the improvements out front. And we look at perhaps maybe even visiting a neighboring property and asking them to now call the deferral and put it in. So I guess, those are some of the notes here that we're looking at, 3, 4, 5, I guess, those couples. Is that correct, guys? Yeah. Ralph, I think 3, 4, and 5 would probably be items.
The widening, the curbing, and the sidewalks,
Yeah.
yes.
We'd like to like to have you look at those, not defer them, but consider doing them when we do this project. And then once again, I think we may discuss with neighboring property that we're going to call that deferral and say it's time to look at doing that as well too. It just makes sense once you get to a scale of property owners that we've deferred for a period of years. It comes a time where we need to call the deferral and have everybody put them in. It's best for the taxpayers. It's best for the surrounding properties. At the time you're going to be disturbing, a lot of the frontage. We might as well go to the neighbors and say, okay, it's time. They're going to disturb the front. Let's have you put yours in as well too. So, Corey, Mike, you tracking with my thoughts there, Mike?
Yep. Have Google Maps up and looking at the maps as we speak, and it looks like it's at 2696 Old Philadelphia Pike has done some sidewalks already, so clearly they would have to complete their job. But yeah, makes sense to do it at this point.
Yeah. As you look at that, Corey, on online there, that 2696 has got about 150 feet south of their driveway on Maple that was never done. So that would continue south there. Okay. Concerns, board, anybody? Response.
I have a question.
Yeah, response.
The timing of figuring out what's appropriate to be done. Is there a way to allow their desired construction to start and still discuss that with the township? Can we record the plan and still discuss it?
I think what the board's saying is that they want to see the widening, the curb and the sidewalk on the plan and construct it as a part of this plan.
Yeah, we could certainly, if the board wanted to do this tonight, they could certainly approve with these items from the township engineer being conditioned. So, the condition would be whatever this board decides, hey, yes, we'll approve, preliminary final lot add-on with these conditions. So you'd have to provide it on the plan.
The other
Go ahead.
comment on that though is that the neighboring property has currently deferral. Is that correct?
Right, immediately to the north.
Correct.
So there might be a benefit in them coordinating their projects, and that timeline may be different than the timeline for their construction. So another way to do it is, as long as the applicant's clear that we want these built ASAP, we could still defer them, and then the minute it's approved, say, now we're calling it in, but notify the neighbor as well and see if they can maybe work together, because you can achieve some cost savings if you work together, but that construction timeline might be different. Would that require a whole new plan just for the curbing, sidewalk, and street widening?
We would definitely want to see a design of that improvement through the township engineer approval. Doing it that way, you don't have financial security to guarantee the improvement, if you will. By coincidence, we did speak with the neighboring property owner today about this particular topic, and he was fine with working to coordinate with Mr. Stoltzfus to do that. So you're right. I mean, in terms of the timing, they should coordinate with each other to make that work more smoothly.
It makes complete sense.
So we could grant the deferrals with the understanding that we're going to call in deferral right after the meeting. And then it'd be working to get that timeline going. So when we call it a deferral, what's the timeline usually look like?
We haven't done a lot of that.
It's been a plan. They've come in for another plan, and we said, okay, hey, guess what? This was deferring you last time. Now you're doing this next plan. Now you got to do it. So I guess the question comes back to this, and that is, how long would it take you to get this put on your plan and then come back for us to grant your final plan? Yeah. So if we get it on the plan, it's generally come in on the plan, and if we grant the deferral, it's already in the plan. It's recorded. The engineers reviewed it all. It's ready to go when we say it's time to do it. But back to Ethan's point, if you can get together with your neighbor at 2696, have that conversation, it makes sense to get a contractor together and do it all at one time.
But if they're under a tight deadline and you want to do the extra work later, i.e. next week, or do you want to do it all at once? I don't care which one. It's more of which one would work best for you guys.
You'd have to come in with a plan for doing all the improvements, which means you're going to pay him again to come in and put together another set of engineering plans for you. And yeah.
Because it might be good to have a general policy if we're calling in a deferral of, hey, we're calling the deferral, we'd like it as soon as possible, but do we want a plan presented by, is it 6 months, 12 months, and then construction starting within 6 or so is there a window that we think would be reasonable? Because it's also one of, if you're lining up contractors now for something, it can stretch out.
I guess staff would probably say it's very rare we get a plan that comes in that doesn't have the improvements. The request is for, hey, we'd like to defer putting those in, but the plan generally comes in with the improvements in place. Is that?
Yeah, more recently, I would say that's typical that, the plans are shown, and where they have not been, the board has, even in a deferral situation, the board has said, these need to be designed so that, conflicts are resolved as part of the design. It's truly, ready to build. But, the timing of these improvements is always more or less in the applicant's hands. The only sort of quasi motivator is, they've posted financial security, so they want to get their financial security back, so they build them, in a time that makes sense for their project, so that they can get done and get their financial security back.
Corey, Mike, comments, thoughts?
My feedback was similar to what you were saying, John. With the full plan, we can always put a timeline on the deferment. I think Ethan was suggesting that too. We could say that, it's got to be in the plan, but now we can talk about the timing of the deferment. Not sure what's reasonable, 6 months. We at least have all the planning for that is done, and then we expect it done within another certain amount of time.
Corey?
Yeah, not much more to add than what Mike said. I mean, it's great to hear that. Just one thing to add, I guess, it's great to hear that neighbor next door is ready to do the work as well. So, the most efficient way we can do this for this owner, the better.
Roger.
Same.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing from the board is we want the infrastructure in, and we'd like it. In fact, we're probably going to just all but require it going to the neighboring property and say, it's time to put this in. I also hear from the board, to do that, we think there's an economy of scale you gain by working together to do that. If that is delaying your plan, the board doesn't wish to delay your plan by encouraging you to go to the neighbor and work together, but it needs to be in. Back to Mike's point, something I'm saying, I think staff is saying too, it needs to be on the plan. It needs to be on the plan. If we're going to defer something, we want to defer what we see. We want to defer infrastructure that we actually see. At this point, we don't see any infrastructure on this plan. And for us to defer something, it needs to be there. There needs to be some financial security in place for it. It needs to be something that's hard and fast that we can know we can get done. For instance, the neighboring plan has infrastructure on it, and we looked at it and said, look, we're going to defer that infrastructure. Is that correct?
That's an older plan, so I don't, my memory doesn't go back quite that far. So I don't know whether they showed it all the way to the property line or not. I can't.
They did do partial.
Yeah,
They
it
did do
goes to the
partial.
driveway now.
So they did the corner at 340 up Maple Avenue to the drive itself. So that they did. So they did portion of their infrastructure. So,
And it's our experience that we have not shown improvements in the past. So we appreciate you explaining. Again, I think speaking for Chris, their concern is we were surprised to hear some of this tonight, and maybe that's our fault, maybe it's not. But they're not looking to, I don't think they're necessarily saying no to improvements, but I don't think they can. It's not, I mean, they don't get the vote, but I don't think they want to accept any delay of plan recording, any delay of building permit for their new structure. So if there's a way, we'll have to go add this to the plan, but is there a way to vote? Maybe not tonight, but just separate the two plans. We'll have a road improvement plan separate from the final plan that we thought was ready to be approved.
So before I can comment on that, let me ask. So when the applicant came in to work through this process, it's quite evident that we require these kinds of improvements.
That's why they asked for deferrals.
Yeah. So you said you're hearing this, you're surprised to hear this conversation tonight. I mean, no one had voted to defer anything at this point. So the DMA letter of June 1st was reviewing a plan. If that plan didn't have infrastructure on there that it should have, was the applicant not aware? Was the applicant not told, hey, you don't have this infrastructure on here?
Well, the engineer's recommendation was to defer. So that was his perspective on it. We have this catalog now of properties that the board has deferred those improvements for. I don't think that's probably in the township engineer's hands.
It is not.
So he didn't remember, didn't think of it. We didn't convey that to him as part of this. So then staff, remembered and said, oh, we have this catalog. Is that on the list? Neighboring property? Yes, it is.
Okay.
Hey, we ought to call this in.
All right.
We were informed and knew about the requirement for road improvement. The one thing we weren't aware of is that the township wanted to see it designed. And that's where we had a misstep.
Okay. All right. So as Ralph just said, over the past decade, we've been more diligent about staff, understanding, making notes on plans, keeping the deferrals out in front of everyone, because we're starting to now run into multiple deferrals in a community where once we look at it and we call those, we realize, wow, we've just gotten a significant investment in infrastructure that we didn't need at one point. So I would say if the board chooses to grant some deferrals, I think it should be on the plan. I think we should see it on a plan. That there should be financial security that ensures that the community is going to get the infrastructure put in when we call the deferral. And I think it should be recorded. Because we weren't doing that, and we've made a policy to change the way we behave for the past 10 years. So I think it should be on a plan. I think it should be recorded, and I think it should come with the financial security. But I think back to Ethan's point, hey, now get together with your neighbor, have that conversation, because we're gonna call the deferral.
Yeah, they can certainly do it that way, you know, and, you know, if it's on, you know, if the board conditionally approves this plan subject to, you know, these improvements being included, the plan will get recorded with the improvements, still post financial security. Then they build it whenever they want and, you know, can take whatever time they need to coordinate with a neighbor.
With their neighbor. Okay, okay. Corey, Mike, did you capture that? That sound like you're understanding things? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ethan, is that, you know, kind of going down the path you were envisioning too? So as you were hearing, you know, I think what we're looking at is, you know, let's get the improvements on the plan. Yeah. And I think the board would be comfortable, you know, working with the applicant, you know, for the final plan approval, you know, with the conditions that, you know, the board may want to condition this in a way that says, you know, it's there, it's on the plan, but, you know, we're willing to push this off a bit while you get in touch, while you move forward, begin your project, knowing that these improvements are going to need to be there, and then work with the neighbor to get this going.
So am I interpreting that there'll be no vote tonight? You'll vote after you see it on the plan? And then,
No,
I think we can.
my
no.
understanding is we can conditionally approve
Oh,
saying, put it on the plan, has to be on the plan before you record it.
so the condition would be, make sure it's on the plan.
Get on the
with
plan.
satisfaction. Okay.
And then if the board decides to defer, you know, the board can, you know, put that in their, they can put that in their vote.
So it'll be, yeah, so it's more of, it's my understanding of what Ralph says we can do is we can conditionally approve the plan, denying the deferral requests, and then putting those, because the timeline to build them is going to be whenever you want, because you're posting financial security. So to get your financial security back, you have to build sidewalks. We don't want you to be like some other folks. We have other folks who have plans with sidewalks or trails on their plans that haven't been built in 20 years.
I like that.
So it's one of,
Deny the deferral.
and just say it has to be shown on the plan when it's recorded. We don't have to see that again, as long as it's
So
there.
there'll be no more
Is that
meeting
correct,
votes after
Ralph?
tonight.
Yeah,
That's
the
an option.
township engineer will review the design as part
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
plan, but
Yeah.
before it gets recorded.
Yeah.
But then, you know, it gets
We don't have to
recorded.
see it.
You don't have
or
to, you won't have to come back
to
here.
us.
Okay.
And then, you know, that you start your project, you know, before it's stamped complete, financial security is released, all that, township engineer will have to review it. And of course, he will say, hey, you know, here are this infrastructure. And then you can, you know, work through that with your neighbor.
I think we have.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, okay, all right. Okay, thank you, Ethan, for ferreting that out. So, gentlemen, we've probably done with you at this point, so. Okay, so board, we've heard discussion, just got some, I think, additional process clarification from Ralph and then Ethan, you know, drawn that out for us. So, is there a motion?
Make a motion, we approve the plan conditioned on the engineer's review comments.
June 1?
Yep, granting waiver modification number 1, granting waiver modification number 2, denying number 3, denying number 4, except for the granting of the waiver of requirement for curbing along parking compounds. Denying number 5, granting number 6, and then condition on that the applicant update the design or the plan to show those improvements and have the township engineer review them prior to recording the plan. And to accept a fee in lieu of parkland at a value of $1,320.
Okay. There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's a motion on the table. It's been seconded, motion by Ethan, seconded by Roger. Everybody understand? Questions? Okay. Hearing none. Corey?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Roger?
Aye.
Ethan?
Aye.
Chair says aye, motion carries. Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Good luck with your project, okay? Thank you. Okay. 7C, a request to defer approval to the city of Lancaster in reference to Tennyson Avenue subdivision plan number 22-11.
Actually, in my right hand, right down.
Yes, hello, Randy.
Site plan, place of land. Just to clarify, you know.
So this is listed as a subdivision plan?
It's listed as subdivision on your agenda, but
Okay.
it's actually a land development
Plan. Okay.
because there's 3 continuous lots.
Oh, yes.
Lots.
Here's what it shows. I think you only have a copy of it. 15 tennis.
And it's listed there as subdivision as well, too.
Requesting that approval be deferred to the city of Lancaster.
Mhm.
It's just a single lot because what happens if you look at your 11 by 17, you can see a little square area coming into the house there. It comes into the garage. That's the part of East Lampeter Township that comes into our project. Out of the 3 lots that we're developing.
Okay.
And they kicked us into the land development because it was more than 2 lots. So we had to go through the land development process. All the no stormwater will be controlled within your township. Everything will be in the back in the city, in the infiltration bed. We did have Davy Tree Service go out, do a tree survey. No trees for lot 15 be removed. So we met all the requirements of the Shade Tree Commission and their saving trees without removal. That's about it. It's a pretty small, simple little project.
Okay.
But I did have comments from the authority, from Matt, from HRG. I did complete his comments. I don't know if you have a copy of that letter or not in the packet. But yeah,
I do.
I just had, all I do is correct the word east and add a note.
Okay,
So,
okay.
but
Okay.
that's, then he has a note there saying that he didn't review the plans for that because we're requesting deferral.
Okay. Issues with sewer authority, Ralph. There are easements that are going across these properties.
Correct.
Sewer authority easements. Are there notes on the plans? Recognize that, just so homeowners
Yeah.
understand. And then,
Our concern about the easement, which goes through the rear of these properties, is that it's clear that there aren't trees or other obstructions, either existing or proposed in the future
through there.
in that easement.
You propose construction, you said?
Anything, trees,
Oh, yeah, we're not doing
Direct
anything, but what we
structures.
have to do though, by the city, we have to go in and clear out all the invasive trees. We are doing that. So we have a complete survey done, all the trees are tagged, and the ones that are invasive, we have tagged that had to be removed by the city, the code, they're all this.
the ones we're concerned about are any in the easement.
Well, that's what I meant, even in the easement, they have us remove Matt did see that plan. He saw the plan, he's aware of it. We're not
We
digging
don't
them
care
up.
if they're invasive or not. We want all of them out of the easement.
So
okay.
everything needs to be cleared out of.
It
the
should be a
easement.
20-foot clear easement.
Okay.
I'm looking on this. I mean, on this, I can't tell, but you show some sort of.
That's the edge of the trees, yes.
Yeah.
And it's not, if you look at Davy Tree Service, that's one of the perimeter of it with brush and trees. The individual trees itself over the complete study of the riparian buffer, the easement and the backyard, there's like 86 trees we tagged between the 3 lots. And I can't remember, I mean, if you want to see it, I can send it to you and show you the ones we're moving. And then I can add a note saying they'll clear everything right. You want it grubbed or just, or the roots cut and that's it? You want the actually roots, the stumps out? That was never made a comment from HRG either.
Yeah, I think from staff's perspective, as long as they're cut and then will die, that's fine.
We could keep up with them once they're down and out.
Well, we want the property owners to continue to maintain that easement area as a clear area, you know,
There's
grass.
a whole separate right here in buffer. They can't go in there. It's, I forgot, it's 15 pages long. That the city developed just for that easement. Going through there, which includes your easement. So riparian buffer goes through there too. The 100-year floodplain through here, which includes your area. And they just developed a brand new agreement just for the first time they ever did for this project.
Well, they haven't talked to us about it.
I know, I'm so,
So,
I mean, I
wow.
can send it to you, but yeah,
Wow.
they just came up with that this past spring.
Can we get a copy of it? Can you get that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to strongly recommend that the board insist that that easement remain clear.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I hear you saying, you know, obviously you've tagged a whole bunch, but you're willing to go cut them.
I think, I can't remember, but I almost certain the majority were already gone, so a couple more trees really doesn't need
Okay.
for them down there to kind of take them out.
So where on this plan is that easement is for we got sewer lines underneath that, right?
Yeah, it's a
Right there.
main trunk line that
Yeah.
carries a lot of
And
flow.
there's trees growing.
And
Right, sir.
And this is all that's in.
Here, you
Yeah.
can see in the larger map here, these will go through all 3 lots.
Okay.
And this is where the majority of the trees are 19 and 23 tenths.
So are you saying that the riparian requirements would have you planting more in
No,
the
we're
easement?
not repairing, we're not gonna be able to plant more. They did the survey, the ones we're clearing out, and the trees we're saving, the species that they wanted. We're okay. We don't grow any trees.
Just taking out the invasive is what.
The invasive, and we try to move the construction, limit disturbance, move the infiltration beds around. So we want to take it out. There's some large trees down there, some like 30-inch or 24-inch diameter ones. So those are the ones we're trying to save. And in their ordinance, there's a credit you get. How do you calculate it? I forgot how it is, but when you go through and calculate it, you're getting credits for it.
Okay, so note in the plan that we're going to be, those easements are obviously recorded and all trees and shrubbery, everything is cleared from the easement. Okay.
The only question I have, I know you're saying that. I don't know how, I have to go back to the city because I don't know which ones they were, I have to see because they already approved the plan. So the DB and their harvest. And now I don't know if it's a tree that they're trying to save in there that we're supposed to take out, then we're going to plant. It's kind of a mixed situation right there.
Yeah, I guess you'll have to resolve that.
So they didn't, city didn't reach out to us.
I don't know why it didn't come up with HRG's review when they had the plans. They wanted every tree out. Again, I have to look at the tree thing. It might not be an issue at all. It might be already taken them all out. Because I know the majority of them in the easement are invasive. And we're trying to save the majority of the ones, the good species in the property.
Okay. All right. Okay. Good. Randy? Okay.
Good on that issue, yeah.
Okay. All right. Other issues. Obviously, we have, concerns. We have been working on a mobility plan. Bridgeport, it's called the Bridgeport Mobility Plan. East Lampeter County Planning, West Lampeter, City of Lancaster, all have been working in a corridor to improve multimodal means, infrastructure, behaviors. And I guess, some of the concern would be is, are we getting sidewalks or are they looking at putting sidewalks in? I mean, I'm surprised the city wouldn't, they're requiring you to remove
They didn't require-
invasive trees and no sidewalks.
No, in that area, there's no sidewalks. That's why they said they weren't required.
You're not even deferring them?
If they defer it, they go put them in right now. They're not required.
So they are going to defer. They are going to defer.
The city approved deferring sidewalks on these lots. That's what you're saying.
Yes. I mean, I've looked at the plan. I'm almost positive. I don't have the cover sheet here.
It's not your understanding, Tara?
I don't recall seeing that note on the cover sheet.
No, the only notice on the cover sheet is deferred to primary preliminary submission of the plan. When they originally reviewed this in city, they just said we do not have to do sidewalk.
The cover sheet in fact says that it was a requested waiver for curb and sidewalk.
Yes.
So not a deferral.
No,
That's correct.
They actually.
that was actually at the direction of the city engineers. That they reviewed it.
Man, why would they do that? Why not defer? All right. Other properties around there, no sidewalks. All right. Cool, Corey.
I know, I'm looking on Google Maps. No, yeah, surprisingly, no, there are not sidewalks.
Nothing else around there.
Well, right on Lincoln Highway in Chateau Hill, where our official map and the Bridgeport mobility plan have Longfellow, is this the right one? Or my Tennyson?
Yeah, not long for Tennyson.
Yeah, this is a
Yeah,
This is
Tennyson.
Tennyson. I did the same thing earlier. Dad was talking about that.
But we have stuff all up Lincoln Highway. Is in our plan.
That's correct. And in the Bridgeport mobility study, there were recommendations that Tennyson have sidewalk, have curbing, and have improvements to slow the motor vehicles down and allow pedestrians safe passage along those roadways.
Yeah, on the other side of Tennyson, about to be built very shortly, are the improvements to the car wash, which will include curb and sidewalk.
Oh,
Um,
yes. We've stepped all the way through that with the car wash guys.
Correct.
So city engineer did not call this out.
Would be staff's recommendation that if the board wishes to defer approval, that it be conditioned upon requiring sidewalks on these 3 lots.
It makes it hard for all you guys doing this development. When we work through all these combined plans, all these regional approaches to this, we just got an award for it. And, the city engineer doesn't pull it out and look at it and discuss it with the applicants. Fortunately, our staff does. Yeah, we have a small portion of this as you started at the beginning, but I think, it's incumbent upon us when we put in place these plans and we tell the public we're doing this and we use taxpayer dollars to do a lot of this kind of work to then actually follow through and do it. We just had an applicant here who, obviously he's got a small business and he's trying to avoid putting in infrastructure, and we just held his feet to the fire. We worked with him on it, but I just think, these kinds of plans, they get a bad name if we don't implement them. We spend a lot of money and time on it and we don't implement them. I think we have to, board, we just adopted the Bridgeport mobility plan and just got, an award for it, and we're, holding everybody else's feet to the fire on this. And boy, this is within, the urban core here. And we just worked with somebody on the village, commercial, in Burdenhand to keep the infrastructure in place. I think we got to work to get the city to recognize that, we could conditionally approve this but it's going to have that infrastructure on the plan. I'm willing to even defer it or consider a deferral. City waived it. I'm willing to have a deferral if that's the case, if we want to do it that way, but I don't know, your thoughts, board, Mike, Corey, Nathan, Roger.
Well, is there a positive move here to speak to the city individually, or is that really with the developer to have them contact us?
Well, and, he's going to go back and make his presentation to the city engineer that says, hey, this just got conditionally approved by East Lampeter with a deferral and you're waiving it. What am I supposed to do?
Well, and just in case there is some misunderstanding with them, to make sure they understand where we're at. I mean, with all respect to the developer, I know he's saying it wasn't mentioned or it was an actual waiver. Is there a possibility there's some kind of miscommunication?
Absolutely not. I haven't had an email from the city engineer.
Yeah, and Tara she just looked at it on the preliminary drawings you have from the city.
On the plan, the applicant submitted that indicating that it was waived.
They didn't waive it. They actually signed the plan.
Yeah,
Well, we don't have that yet.
we can condition on a deferral. And they just have to put it on the plan. It's a
Because
deferred-
we have an interest in it. It's.
And as far as the sewer easement, they have to put that on there. We should still reach out to the city to get a copy of their repair and ordinance and make sure that they clarify that our easement we're underneath their trees.
My concern about the concept of a deferral is I don't think this board would have the ability to call that deferral in.
Unless we didn't defer the approval. In other words, they could work with the city, get it all done, then come back to us, and then we could put it on with our final approval, but that would just be the only one thing they need.
They wouldn't be able to record the plan without your signatures on the plan. And therefore, they wouldn't be able to proceed with their development until the plan's recorded.
So if we didn't defer to the city fully, they'd have to get approval from the city, then come get approval from us.
Correct.
We could just say, we're going to accept everything the city puts on you, except for the one thing of sidewalks.
Again, delaying their project because
Yeah.
now they have to submit a new application to
The
us.
city.
You guys have to complete the lawsuit, because I mean, the city's already done it. They approved it and signed it.
Ralph Collins.
That's Colin, Director of Planning. Yeah, Randy, you said that the city's already signed off on it. They signed the plan. They're ready to record it, so.
Tomorrow, that was like.
Yeah.
Just said today, it's up to the government today. Sign.
So it's already approved on the city.
They made certain assumptions that,
Right.
what was going to happen tonight, which isn't happening tonight. So that's not our problem.
No, but it seems like I call a little bit of a fight between you and the city.
No, you-
guys aren't communicating.
No.
And it's kind of coming back. You just said to me, I got to clear it up. You even said earlier, you guys aren't communicating.
No, you're.
I'm happy to call the city staff
Yeah.
and make that contact, but this is a plan in their community. They're asking us for a deferral. Nobody contacted us either.
Yeah.
So, we can reach out to them and.
The only thing we have is a set of jointly approved plans that specifically call for curbing and sidewalk on this road.
Yeah.
That they approved and we approved. And that's
Yeah.
what we're going by, but they're
Yeah.
not.
And to the applicant's point, though, hey, I'm caught between you two, so why do I have to solve that? Can't you guys go solve that? I'm willing to work with these two governing entities, but I don't have any direction. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have to solve it, but the plan doesn't go anywhere.
No,
until it's solved. So we
no, I
should
get it.
definitely help facilitate solving it, but
Yeah.
if this board, and I think we should either defer or require sidewalks as part of the plan. Because that's part of our regional plan that we work on with the city.
Yes. No, I'm with you on it. I think staff needs to,
But if they've
Get a
already
hold of the
signed
city.
off on saying you don't need it, then the only way we can do that is we can't do anything.
Last December. I think you really have to, it's like a month ago. That the city finally said, when it never came up in a review comment, and then they came up at the end after they gave me conditional approval to come back through to your township.
all right, so staff, we need to assist with this. And, you know, an outreach to the city to question their process and all of our understanding of the regional agreement and regional plan needs to come from us so that we can, you know, respond to this applicant. But the applicant is sitting here looking for some direction from us. He came here believing that our neighbor said, it's done, we're stamping it, you can move on. So, you know, what do we have? What can we send this applicant away with tonight?
Well, I think you could take action to conditionally defer approval of the plan to the city, subject to the requirement that the sewer easement be cleared and maintained as cleared, and that curb and sidewalks are installed in front of these 3 properties in accordance with city specifications.
They just have to go and do a new plan for the city.
Even if the city
You
is
just have to
already,
add those things to this plan. And as soon as they're on this plan, if the board has taken that action, this
It's-
board can sign it.
it's approved, and it's conditionally approved, and we can sign it. Ethan, Corey, Mike, are you tracking with this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm hearing we could defer this to the city with a condition that, you know, we want to see on the plan the infrastructure, and, you know, has to be designed according to whatever the city specs are for it. And then staff would get a hold of the city and clarify what we're doing here, to try to clear this up for you. But, you know, the city engineer, in my estimation, didn't look clearly at plans that are guiding and directing what they should be doing.
But they may not have had, did we have an approval of the mobility plan in December?
Yes,
man.
it was last April, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah, we wrapped it up last April.
It
So,
was either April or June of 2021.
so you're getting caught in the middle of it, Randy. and
So this would have gone through the city's planning commission as
I'm
well.
sorry. And I hear your frustrations. I want to help the applicant move along. I think government is standing in his way, and I think government is stubbing its toe here by standing in his way. And I don't think that that's fair. At the same time, by developing in these communities, there is infrastructure.
Yeah, I
that you're stuck. You're stuck doing.
Put sidewalk in. If I can't move forward, then I understand I gotta get back to the city, I guess it's a city, to say,
Well,
I get back for another approval.
I don't know if you'll need another approval from the city. Once you put those improvements on the plan,
I mean.
I suspect they'll still sign it.
And I'm not, I don't want to speak for this board, but I think there's a possibility we'd be willing to even defer the
We don't have that,
installation of those.
we don't have that ability to, but if they're on the plan, then similar to the previous applicant, they don't have to build them. they can build them whenever they want, but they're gonna pose financial security for everything that's on that plan. So they're most likely gonna build.
So we could defer.
We don't have that
Yeah.
authority.
I think the
'cause we-
problem is it's in the city. You don't have the ability to call that in the city's right.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right. You did say, thank you.
Yeah, we can't call that
Thank you.
deferral. The city
Okay.
could defer it.
So Randy, you can go back to them. They stamped it waived. You go back tomorrow and they say, all right, we'll stamp it.
But we can still take our action, right? So it doesn't come back to our meeting.
I don't want you to have to come back here and spend additional time and resources coming
No,
down.
I'm just trying to figure out what's going on.
I can see it. All right, so board, we need a motion.
I'll take a stab at it. Make a motion to defer approval to the city of Lancaster conditioned on the East St. Peter Sewer Authority letter, as well as clearing and maintaining clearance of the sewer right of way. And conditioned on adding curbing and sidewalks to the plan in accordance with the city specifications based on the recommendations of the Bridgeport mobility plan.
Well, there is curve out there, isn't it? Small curve.
This would be curbing and sidewalks on the plan.
So you want that curve that's out there replaced? That's what.
Whatever the city specifications for the curbing and sidewalk are.
Yeah, well, we can't drive that action, so,
Yeah.
okay?
All right.
Okay, motion's been made by Ethan. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Roger. Randy, you understand? You understood what we're trying to do? Okay, all right. Corey?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Roger?
Aye.
Ethan?
Aye.
Chair says aye, motion carries. Okay, thank you, Randy. I'm sorry to bring you heartburn. Thank you, appreciate that. Okay, item number 7D. This is item to accept the proposed multi-use zone amendment and authorized distribution for review and comment. Ralph, there's no applicant, no one here from the applicant. Staff received this proposed amendment.
Correct.
Staff has reviewed it.
We're in the process of reviewing it.
We had discussion here with the applicant present, and I think they had counsel. I think everyone was here for that. So we've all heard the implications of this amendment, that there's several items that would be allowed for this amendment. This applicant was presenting to us an amendment that would allow for mini self-storage that would be contained within their existing building.
That's correct.
Their first floor, I guess.
There are other uses as well that
Other uses
they're
as well.
providing for.
Correct.
One is financial institutions, another is restaurants with drive-throughs, but that's already existing drive-through facilities. So no new drive-through facilities in the Bridgeport area or in the mixed-use zone. And then financial institutions was one that we had left out from the move to the 2016 ordinance revision.
Okay.
So what's being asked of the board tonight is, this is a legislative type action. So if you want this to move forward, this would have to be sent out to all of our planning partners, the county, neighboring municipalities, the school district, give them 45 days to review and comment. Then the board would schedule a public hearing, at which time this amendment would be considered, the public would provide input. And then after that public hearing, the board could consider adopting the amendment to the ordinance. Okay. So tonight it's just a matter of authorizing us to move forward with that process.
And what sort of changes are permitted in that period of time? Does it have to be exactly as worded, or can there still be?
There can be no substantially altering changes.
This is their proposal.
How many other areas in the township would be applied? Is this a singular property, or is there other properties that would come under this?
This would affect the mixed use zone.
So if you turn right around behind you, the purple area on the map, Roger.
Right. The purple area along
perfect.
generally
Perfect, Roger.
462.
Okay.
Purple area right there.
Okay.
Yep. So, coming down to just about where Stratford Pike,
Yeah.
Greenfield.
Yeah.
Greenfield,
Oh,
is-
it's in Green-
yeah, Greenfield.
Here's the car lot.
Yep.
There you go. Okay.
So
Gotcha.
would all be allowed. Mike, Corey, did you guys get that?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, so we're just looking at the map here
Yep.
and see that it's basically Bridgeport out to Greenfield Road is the mixed use zone. Okay?
Yep.
Okay, so staff needs to know, do we move forward and authorize for review and comment?
Make a motion, we accept the proposed zoning amendment regarding the mixed use zone and direct staff to circulate it to the planning partners for review.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion by Ethan, second by Roger. Sorry, Mike, got Roger in there. Okay, questions or concerns? Hearing none. Corey?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Roger?
Aye.
Ethan?
Aye.
Chair says aye. Motion carries. Thank you. 7E. A presentation from staff. Colin, new subdivision on land development ordinance. We got a nice packet here, I see. Thank you, sir. Yes. Appreciate that.
Yes, so before you have a copy of the draft subdivision and land development ordinance update. You also have a memo that I prepared that highlights some of the changes that were made throughout the Saldo. Instead of reading through each one, some of them are minor in nature, so I'm just going to pick out a few of the more substantial ones and go through them a little bit. So section 201 definitions, I'm sorry, the definition section. We're going to change that so that it matches the zoning ordinance, being that the zoning ordinance was updated more recently, and that should have more up-to-date definitions and such. So in order to remain consistent throughout, we'll match those to the zoning ordinance.
Good.
We did add a few as well. So section 201, single-family detached dwellings and apartments as an accessory use will be excluded from requiring land development. We also are the conversion of a single-family dwelling or single-family semi-detached into no more than 3 units will no longer be excluded. So that will require land development moving forward, as is proposed that way.
What about a conversion of a single family to a duplex?
I believe that would still be considered a single family, so it would be excluded from land development.
There's no new building with that, so it would be excluded, and we're excluding the accessory dwelling unit. So when you look at the accessory dwelling unit in a single family, it's a lot like a 2-family.
Good.
What about a conversion of either conversion or creation of an accessory building into an accessory apartment?
That was the intent of the ADU exclusion.
So if you were to add, okay, excellent.
Section 302. We propose, or I should say, we're adding a section in there regarding the sketch plan process. However, the township typically, we always have pre-application meetings. So we kind of already performed that function. I'm not sure the sketch plan is really needed being.
Hold on, Colin, just a second. Corey, can you hear Colin without the microphone?
He's going.
Whatever he's doing, we can hear him just fine. So.
No, I didn't even see it. He's actually wearing a lapel one.
Oh yeah, he's great.
Excellent.
Yeah, he sounds great.
He sounds great.
Wow. Wow, thank you, Corey.
Colin, yeah.
I can't see it. It's on his blue shirt. I can't even see it. Oh, yeah.
You're good. Okay, so yeah, the sketch plan process. We added in there. It's up to you to decide whether or not that's something we should really add. We already kind of, we have pre-application meetings where we hash out kind of the major zoning issues and whatnot. If we do add a sketch plan process, it is going to add another PC meeting, another Board of Supervisor meeting, and it's going to add significant time for the applicant as well as the township. So that's something to take a look at and discuss or determine whether or not we really want to add that. But we included it as an option, so.
Colin, if we don't have a sketch plan process in the ordinance and an applicant still wants to come discuss informally about their plan, they could still do
Oh,
that.
absolutely. Which they do now. They come in, discuss with
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Saves them a lot of time and
Yeah.
us time as well, so.
Absolutely. I'd rather have it as options as opposed to requirement. Yeah.
Thoughts? And that goes with section 303. So some we're cleaning up, I think there's 303 where normally we waive preliminary plan.
Mhm.
That's one of the normal waivers, modifications are always waiving.
Mhm.
It's like, we're always waiving it. Why do we have it in
Right.
there? So it looks like there's an option of, you could waive it if there's a sketch plan
Right.
submitted, but
That's
if
a-
there's not, you need it.
No, that was just an option, correct? That's,
It's written that if you submit for a preliminary, you have to, for a waiver of preliminary, you have to submit for a sketch plan. So it's a way, we do briefing items at the planning commission. This was another way for the planning commission to get input into the planning process more formally. What happens though with a sketch plan is if it's formally submitted, it starts a timeline. You have to abide by the MPC.
Yeah, the MPC also provides a preliminary plan process. That wasn't something that we conjured up in our ordinance. That's out.
So if you come
Could we
in,
create something new that's not under the MPC that was called a sort of pre-planning discussion?
a pre-application meeting. Yep.
that
wouldn't
doesn't
a
start the
timeline.
clock.
No, that's just informal.
And it could take, and you could say, and that could take place with staff at the planning commission. Because
Well,
it'd be good to have that
It couldn't
input
take
in.
place at the planning commission level.
If it takes place at the planning commission, it needs to be either an informal discussion
Right.
or it starts the clock. It's
Right.
one or the other.
So they can come in with their plan as long as it's informal
Okay,
and it's the same purpose, so.
yeah, so
That to me encourages the conversation with applicants, the engagement with the planning commission, but also doesn't put handcuffs on them and lock them into something. It says, come talk to us, let's work together.
yeah, so I wouldn't add any new requirements, but if there's a way to encourage
Mhm.
those informal discussions
Yeah, I'm with you.
and then still waive and not have to do
The
those.
applicant introduced the idea, says this is a preliminary informal sketch plan.
Yeah. Yeah, typically
That
they
has to be stated in front of,
yeah, they would contact
PC.
me and then
okay,
I would schedule them for an informal meeting at one of our PC meetings.
okay.
The only other comment I would make about preliminary plan process is that, at least in my experience, that's valuable when a project is being phased. So if you've got a larger project and it's being phased, in other words, they're going to build portions at different times, having a preliminary plan that covers all of it and then final plans that cover the phases helps a lot.
And under the MPC, it gives the applicant rights to whatever the preliminary plan was adopted under or approved under, I should say, so that any changes to the law, the ordinances in the meantime aren't applicable. For instance, Devon Creek.
So we could have preliminary plans are not required unless it's a phased plan. So an applicant could always choose to do it for a regular plan if they want. Like they may know that we're about to change the zoning ordinance and they want to put something in that's going to stretch out. Car wash down the street from us. Maybe not intentional, but it's under the old zoning ordinance because had a plan filed. But if there's a way we could basically, it's preliminary plan is not required unless it's a phased project, because I think there's a benefit there for both parties to have that requirement on a phased one, but then still have it open if the applicant wants to do the formal preliminary plan process.
And again, we'd be distinguishing between the process and the plan requirements. So the stuff that's listed as required for a preliminary plan, you still want to have that on a final plan, even if that's the only plan they do.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, section 304. The final plan process was updated to with the same schedule timeline as far as sketch plan and preliminary. I think Susan Pfeiffer added some comments in there regarding a recent court case regarding improvements over a period of time and whether or not the township had to reimburse over a certain time period. So she did provide comments on that. Section 312, adding a minor plan, lot line change and lot add-on plan. We get plenty of those. So we thought maybe it's beneficial to have its own section with its own requirements and criteria. Again, section 401, if a sketch plan if we do, determine that that's what's wanted, it should have its own section with its own criteria and standards. Section 503, designs for streets were removed, and later I'll talk about the East Lampeter Township technical specs and standard detail document that those details will be included in. Section 505, sidewalks. Instead of 4 feet, we're proposing sidewalks to be 5 feet throughout the township.
Is that consistent? Consistent with our neighboring municipalities? They go in the same direction?
We did not look at the neighboring
Yeah,
municipalities.
I think our thought was that some of the plans we have out there now are calling for 5-foot sidewalks, so be consistent with any corridor plans, whatnot.
With corridor plans.
I believe that was our thought.
Is it possible to kick that to a technical spec? And as part of our sidewalk, we're building out that network of, it would make sense to have different widths, whether you're, if you're on 340, you want a wider width than if you're on Tennyson, for example. You don't need 5-foot sidewalks on a residential street. But if that residential sidewalk is pushing out into a main road where we would want wider sidewalks, the more traffic on the road, the wider sidewalk you want, basically, because the more foot traffic is going to be there as well.
Would you also want a greater separation between curb and sidewalk?
Yeah, to me, separation is more important than the sidewalk.
Yeah,
So I'd give
I
up
like that. I like that.
having that green buffer, but it's one of, if we could set that technical and have the flexibility to change the technical specs by corridor.
It is in the technical specs on
Good.
page 2 in a chart.
Yeah, if I had a 4-foot sidewalk, I had a 2-foot separation between the curb and the sidewalk, wow, that gives that sense of security and comfort.
The 3-foot sidewalk.
3-foot
with the 2-foot
sidewalk,
separation.
2-foot separation. Yeah.
It's psychologically safer than a 5-foot
Yep.
with no separation.
I wouldn't recommend going down to 3 foot of sidewalk.
Yeah.
Full narrow.
So especially for, folks in wheelchairs.
Yeah, but then you also have you can get into the rural ones, the interesting one, like you go to San Antonio, they have more flooding, so they have more stormwater requirements. They have a 1-foot sidewalk / curb on the very rural roads. So it's just, so it's walkable, people walk on it, but they also have it's sort of a wide curb. I haven't seen any on the East Coast. They do have them. It's not ADA approved.
Great for DUI stops. If you can walk this curb.
You can.
It's a policing tool. Yeah.
You can jump your bike on it, and ride it.
Sorry.
Just fine.
Yeah, I'm worried about the snow shoveling on a 5-foot wide. If it was in front of residential, I'd be that's a lot more work.
So yeah, given the flexibility, how frequently we change the saldo, if we could kick that out to sidewalks should follow the corridor specifications in the technical. Because then we can update the technical specs as we look at our things that are deferred. But also then people could start to look at that, and if that map starts to get publicized, if all of a sudden they come back in and it's, oh, now we need a 5-foot, 6-foot sidewalk. I thought it was a 4-foot sidewalk. I budgeted for whatever sidewalks were when we put in the place.
Typically, the distinction is, by road designation. So you've got on the front, collectors, principal, major, minor, local, and local roads, I guess, would be the other option there. So those are your typical way to distinguish between requirements. So maybe if we all, take a look at what roads are listed under those categories and figure out what everybody's comfortable with as far as design requirements.
Yeah. And where our map is for prioritizing these and what's already existing.
What's already existing and where are the gaps in the
Yeah.
sidewalk
Yeah.
network?
Yep. Because there's another one of, hey, we'd like it to be this, or meet if the gap is small enough. And if you don't want to go 5 feet for one, 2 houses and then back to 4 feet on either side for the next mile.
Okay, thank you.
I would suggest that you set a standard for that corridor, and then when the plan comes in front of the board, make those adjustments to a specific property plan.
Okay, Colin. Okay. Section 518, park, open space, and Greenway provision. This was updated, again by Susan. This was updated to acknowledge the township comprehensive plans. And also talks about, the parkland, capital reserve, operation and maintenance, acquisition fund, cash free payments in lieu of dedication. And this again was in lieu of a court case that determined timelines for payments of improvements. Yeah.
I'll have to dig into that one, but does that give a more clear definition of how we arrive at that fee in lieu of parkland than we currently have?
So I don't think it does that, but I guess it gives us more flexibility in terms of recreation fees and allow them to use them on, I guess, a broader range of purposes. One that she mentioned here was operation and maintenance of recreation facilities. It also talks about facilities now only need to be reasonably accessible, and I think the limit was up to 3 miles that money can be used for.
So her edits are guiding what the municipality can use it for, how it applies these. But I think I'm with Ethan too. As soon as that conversation started tonight, we go down that route of how do we clearly come to a determination of what it is.
I mean, if we had if the solicitor could draft something that meets legal muster, but to me it would be, here's the specific requirement, which could be, we have a property assessment that separates building and land value currently, and it could be a percentage of that property of assessed value of the base property sets the amount unless the board agrees on something different. But if the board takes no action on accepting it, that one kicks in. So that way the applicant walks in and I know I'm going to pay X. I may pay less if I can convince the board.
Yeah. Have any municipalities moved in the direction of assessed value of the property?
I think
Or
most of
I've seen them set a more specific fee that gets cut down based off of density requirements. I think the city has theirs that way.
And that fee, the base value of the fee is tied to what? It's
either square footage or number of units. If it's residential, square footage, it's not. And it's based off of basically the amount of traffic bodies you're putting in. Usually but then you can have, so you basically set it to there, and then for example, more applicable on, say, a residential apartment building. And you can have then credits that come off of that of, hey, if you have 10% of these are designated affordable housing units, that waives your fee in lieu of parkland, for example. So that's another way I've seen other municipalities do it is you set a very specific fee. That's either, hey, you give us acres or a set amount. Because it's another one of, based off of our size of our township, we can almost set the amount of what the fee is. Because all of our developable land, we could say, here's the value of an acre in East Lancaster. We could set that. And then that's the calculation used by every development. Then we could have credits that incentivize people to do things that we prefer them to do, but we don't want to mandate.
Our current is, what is it, 2.5?
What's pre
Formula? Yes.
Well, the formula is different if it's residential versus if it's non-residential. So I think you still want to have a distinguishing element there. So yeah, it's for non-residential, it's 2.5% of the area being developed. For residential, it's 0.027 acres per dwelling unit. So that part of the formula is pretty easy, I think. The thing that has always been a dilemma has been the value of the land.
Coming up with the value of
And-
it. That's
right.
always been the challenge.
Yeah.
You know, that's why I'm asking. Do you say, back to your point, making it clear, it's, 0.027, or 2.5% of, the value of the land based upon the latest county assessed value or something. The board gives something that's clear for, everyone to go find it. It's available.
Yeah, it's on their tax bill. So that's, to me, if we can define that starting value, would then also have the flexibility to either have credits that pull that number down, which is what I would love to see happen with the residential side. Or a way for the board to, we have flexibility to move a little lower rather than become a big haggle point. It's just, here's the accepted number.
Yeah.
We could run it against some of the previous properties we've just done and see if it sort of passes the gut test. But the big one is on these big residential properties that are moving in. When we look at how much parkland we have available to even buy, it's more of how do we take the money and improve the existing parkland or the connections to that parkland. To me, sidewalk infrastructure is parkland. It's a way for people to get out and exercise and engage with their community. So it's just
I think that's likely problematic to do sidewalks. Trails, off-road trails.
Yeah. But if we have incentives, because you can tie other incentives to the developer of if they're able to build a section of sidewalk for us, then that can get them a credit down to that. Because you can do credits for affordable housing and other things.
So could we come up with a way to modify what we have tied to assessed value? See what it, just run some numbers right now. See what it looks like. If you come up with it and go, that actually does kind of work. It could help us to just tweak the current standard we have. And then, start talking about, are there some sort of incentives we could come up with to drive property owners to do some of the things that we're trying to achieve with the park?
Assessed value, I'm sorry, assessed value is what Colin used to help determine Mr. Stoltzfus's fee tonight.
There you go.
While Mr. Stoltzfus went out and got a realtor to say, my land is worth this much.
Yeah. And we've asked, we've actually put that out there. Well, what was the pre-development assessment of that property or
Right.
appraisal of that? So he kind of came in prepped for that and went, whoa, 16,000, holy cow.
So I am concerned about offering credits for park fee in lieu, especially for affordable housing, because then we seem to be headed in a direction where we're putting a great bit of density on property. And then we're saying, okay, this is affordable housing. We need to track that. But then, there's no parkland then. So where do the folks go to that are in that higher density for their parkland? It has to be intentionally placed somewhere, and it almost has to be placed there and developed prior to the high density coming in, so that it's immediately accessible for that development.
I mean, if we could say that the amount that we spend on parks is equal to the amount we get in fees, then that argument, I think, makes more sense. But we heavily subsidize our parks to the tune of more money than we get in that fee, would be my guess when we look at the budget and the maintenance cost of that. So it's to me, that it's a community subsidy of parks, and then there's an infrastructure updates and cost that the fees go into updates to those parks to make it so, hey, you can fit a lot more people in the current parks that we already have. But then, so to me, it's more of, can we use, the developer, it's a fee, and if they can reduce their fee by doing something that is also a community benefit, at the same as a park is a community benefit, then there's an incentive for us.
We talked about EG and the linkage back to CV school district. How would your plan walk me through that as to how you would give a credit if they give an easement back through that lot? So that's exactly the situation you're referring to.
So you could say, hey, your fee in lieu of parkland, say it's $5,000.
Right.
We're going to waive that if you provide us a path easement that gives us connectivity to an existing recreation space. Or in the case of the high properties.
I would just remind the board that the fee is actually the alternative to providing the land. So the primary intent of that provision of the ordinance is to provide recreation space. So they either provide it where they're developing or provide the township with dollars to provide it somewhere else.
So is there a way to incent them to be more likely to actually, give land or provide those facilities there?
Well, so your question, Corey, to me sounds similar to what Ethan's asking. Is there some sort of credit back to them or some sort of exchange value to them that says, hey, I could pay a fee in lieu of, but give me other options and I'll go that direction. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, well, no, I mean, this is actually the option. We need to make the option more difficult for them to do what we really want them to do, which is to dedicate actual land. If that's not the case, then let's flip it. Let's just make it a fee, and then the dedication of land is the option. But it seems like everyone takes the cash payment option, probably because it's, I don't know, easier, cheaper, or frankly, maybe there isn't land available for them to give.
Yeah, I think it's probably some of all of that. But for instance, this individual tonight on Maple Avenue, well, okay, I'll give you the land. You want, 0.027 acres here. I don't, you're going to put there, maybe you'll put a pull-up bar on my corner of my property, which isn't, a effective way of creating community open space. So he does give the dollars. I guess I go back to the example that Roger was just asking about in that EG situation. Hey, provide the open space or provide the in lieu of. Well, they're going to write us a check. And we're all going to sit here and say, darn, man, we really would have liked for them to have connected to the pathway behind them because the school just put in, 2 miles of trails. Isn't that a better use of everybody's time and dollars? How would we incentivize? How could we get E.G. Stoltzfus to do that?
Well, so 2 comments. One is people are paying the fee because it's not actually an accurate fee. It's the land is more valuable
Not a
than
true
the fee
cost.
of the value of the land.
Right.
So
Right.
we need to correct that, and I think it needs to correct up. So, and we all know that the base assessed value, when we look at that, it may be 200, 300% of the base assessed value per the county tax records to get that fee. Because I think we should be spending, if we can actually get that development to drive the development of our current existing parks and the connection of them. But in the older model of townships that were on the metro, outside the metro, you had large subdivisions. You look at our Devon Creeks, who were putting in parks as part of those large subdivisions. We don't have the land to do large subdivisions anymore in East Lampeter. So our focus needs to look, all right, how does anyone who's in a more urban environment that's already built out the available land, how are they handling this? They're all now using high fees and then a credit system to incentivize developers to do things that are in line with what the community wants. So when I look at how we should revise this, I look at a more dense environment. So what are they doing? I don't look at a slightly more rural land available environment that's embracing suburban sprawl.
We will work on that.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Mike, Corey, anything else on that? No? Good?
I think that was helpful. Good conversation.
Okay, good. Okay, Colin?
Okay, section 519, traffic impact studies. We have the township transportation engineer taking a look at this. In particular, we're looking at the number of traffic trips that trigger a TIS. So we're looking at that, whether we should raise that, based on today's difficulties, or lower it. I'm sorry, lower it. Yeah, bad word, sorry. Yeah, lower it.
It's 100 right now.
Correct, it's 100 new trips. So we're looking at that to see if we should lower that. That would trigger a traffic impact study.
I forget, at some point, since I've been on the board, I know we changed our parking space requirements, right?
That's correct.
Ran them down, right? Yeah, good. I drive
That's
by.
zoning.
What's that?
That's in the zone.
That's in zoning, yeah. Every time I drive by one of our 1990s commercial developments, I look at it and go, oh my gosh, look at all that asphalt. It's just sitting there, heating up the environment and taking up everybody's money and space. And anyway, okay, go ahead. Sorry.
What are you thinking about lowering it to?
We're gonna wait until Jay States
The TIS?
gets back to us on that.
What are they going to get you?
Studies to see what maybe other
Municipalities.
studies show or whatnot, yeah.
Is that a peak hour?
This is
Trigger.
peak hour only, so that precludes a number of developments that we've seen over the last few years from going through a TIS. And so we have indicated to Jay, we'd like to know what our neighboring municipalities are doing,
Yeah.
not only in Lancaster County, but Dauphin and Cumberland counties, and how they're handling this. And then are they handling it through peak hour, AM, PM, or total trips throughout the day?
100 peak hour trips is a lot. Yeah. So.
Okay.
Okay, the last item I have here is the East Lampeter technical spec and standard details, which we discussed already somewhat.
Good.
Like we said, we're making this its own document. That way it's a standalone document that can be updated as needed. We don't have to go through the whole process of an ordinance update. And it'll be easier for applicants and for township and staff whatnot to view and find. It'll all be in one document. So some of the changes that are proposed are have concrete curbs stamped with an S&W to delineate sewer and water. Something fairly simple. The table that we talked about that had the kind of the street design standards, we proposed the 5-foot wide sidewalk. We did remove local roads within a subdivision completely, being that we have a local road designation already. We proposed to change the width of a cartway for local roads from 34 feet to 27 feet. We also changed the grass planting strips, the width there, in correspondence with the 5-foot sidewalk change.
Is it possible to get that? The way to get that private, I mean, the smaller streets narrower? 27 feet still a lot.
Do you want to prohibit parking on those streets?
What
I
is,
mean, when I go right across the road, West Lancaster, and I go into that subdivision there,
Mill Creek?
Mill Creek, they've got on-street parking on both sides and the car path is like 20 feet.
What is that,
And,
you
it-
know?
and you can't speed.
What's Mill Creek's width? Don't know.
I don't know that.
Are those public or private roads?
I drive on. So it's
I mean, that's a good question. I don't know. But
they're picking up trash all through there.
fire companies going through there. I'd be interested to see what fire company thinks too.
Well, you can make smaller fire trucks.
I think, I think
The fire company should adapt our streets, not
Yeah.
our streets adapt
I think
their
the
truck.
point being, you can slow down traffic, obviously by affecting. So, see what others are doing.
Okay, yeah, we can definitely take a look at
Or
that.
have designs, because they also have I think a design standard. I don't know if that's an overlay or part of the plan that they did, but they have decorative curbing there. It's a hard block. Looks nice, but it functions the same way as a curb, but it's loud. Looks really nice. And then they've got a separation, a sidewalk, but they've got, to me, that's like the connector paths, the parks that are in there. It all works very well together and there's connections. There's some sections that don't have a sidewalk, but it also makes sense not to have one in those sections. So to me, it's a well done little development where you have a lot of high density, but it's impossible to speed.
Okay, thank you.
But you can also drive through there just fine. I was there yesterday morning. We're there about 4 days a week.
Okay, we added some dimensional data to some of the cross sections for streets, curbs, pavement. We just added some numbers there to make it easier to read. We added some Lancaster County plan certificates. We added in there the plan submission forms. And then we just added a signature recording procedure. That seems to come up a lot, what the process is after the board approves a plan and whatnot. So those are some of the main changes we had. So this is a working document. Staff asks that you have any comments back to us by July 11th. And then we can discuss and make those changes. And then we anticipate some presenting to you the revision final draft at the August 25th Board of Supervisor meeting, which you could acknowledge and then begin the 45-day comment period. And then tentatively, we'd like to have it scheduled for the October 17th Board of Supervisor meeting for adoption.
Good. Okay, awesome. Anything else? Nothing.
Yes, you've got
Couple more items,
questions.
guys, couple more items. Please, comments back by July 11th. Come see Colin, come send him emails, send him spreadsheets, send him notes, send him encouragement. Come sit with him.
I'm
All right?
available.
Come on, you know they're gonna be sitting together.
Yeah.
You just might as well just pull up a chair, buddy. He's gonna be,
Sure.
get all kinds of ideas. Okay, Mike, Corey, anything else on subdivision land development?
All good.
Okay, good stuff. Thank you, Colin.
Thank you.
Good to see you before us,
Thanks, Colin.
Colin. Okay. Item number 8, action item, supplemental appropriation in reference to the contribution to Whitmer Fire tanker refurbish. We don't have it in the budget. We need to make an adjustment.
Right.
Okay.
And you can make that supplemental appropriation with this resolution.
Okay, we understand it?
Make a motion to approve the supplemental, a resolution regarding the supplemental appropriation for the Whitmer fire tank.
Second.
Okay, motion by Ethan, second by Mike. Questions or concerns? Hearing none. Corey?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Roger?
All right.
Ethan?
Aye.
Chair says aye. Motion carries. 8B, authorize applications for Connect's 2040 implementation program. Staff, you have outlined in an order
that I believe you would like to recommend as being the priority order. The conversion of a section of Route 462 from 4 to 3 in Bridgeport, and it's part of the Bridgeport Mobility Plan. And look at that, Tennyson Drive is right there. Number 2, the study and preparation of the conceptual plan for the extension of the Heritage Pathway west and south. Okay, obviously the Oak Drive, Conestoga Pines area. And then the study and preparation of a conceptual plan for that same pathway west and south adjacent to Walnut Street. And I didn't think about it. So that would definitely require evaluating the viability of that same road die, that same tightening of Walnut Street. And I drove out there a day thinking, I didn't see this here, but I just thought, let me go see, how will that actually connect? Because there's a rock wall there that goes Walnut Street extension. Man, that road is wide. Holy cow, that Walnut Street extension that goes into the city. And I'm telling you, I got on that thing coming off of 30, heading into the city.
Yep.
I mean, the guy had to be doing 65 by the time he got to where the bridge started. I thought, you just got off that highway, buddy. I mean, and then when you come up to the traffic light there at
Pleasure.
I mean, it just, that's a dangerous section of road.
I've been on that road almost every day for 15 years. And if you're coming down from the city and you're waiting there to turn left on Pleasure,
Yeah.
I tell you what, you better be peeled to see those cars come around that curve because they are moving.
Yeah. It's almost a blind spot there.
It's a long sweeping curve, but once you commit to go, you better get
Better
through
go.
there. Yeah.
So, doing this road diet, that's interesting planning term.
I like that.
Your road needs to lose some weight. Back to Ethan's point, tightening up that road. I mean,
Yeah.
that was all built to PennDOT specifications through there for a major highway, wasn't
Yeah, it was.
it? Oh my gosh.
It's a
It's
4-lane road, so.
So I read this and I thought, man, I love that idea. So anyway, guys, all 3 of these options for staff, obviously, putting in, they would all make great, projects.
We agree. When we submit to this program, we have to indicate what the board's priorities are.
Yeah.
So that they can consider their funding decisions with those priorities in mind.
Anybody have any different thoughts? Staff is recommending that, in fact, this would be the order 1, 2, and 3.
A, B, and C.
A, B, and C.
The only thought would be, what's the likelihood of approval?
Yeah.
And if we put the high dollar one as 3, we're more likely to get if we lead with the cheaper one, are we more likely to get it?
I don't know. I guess my best guess, Tara, feel free to jump in. My best guess would be that they'll look at the studies sort of as a group and, fund some studies. So you might not get both studies, but you might get one. And then construction projects will probably be evaluated in a different group. So you might get, if it scores high, you might get your construction project as well. That would be, I guess, my best hope is that you get the construction and one of the plans, but.
No, that would be my guess as well. I would submit all 3. I would hope for 2 and be really happy with 1.
Works for me.
Okay.
And you agree with this order?
I absolutely agree
So
with the
staff,
order.
100% from staff, this lineup.
I'm okay with it. If that's, I want to support staff's, view on this. I kind of with Ethan, like, I want to get something. So, but Corey, thoughts, Mike?
No, like the list and I trust that.
Okay, all right.
Good with the list.
Thoughts? Okay,
Good with the list.
okay, motion. We need to give staff direction to move ahead.
Make a motion that the application What should we call these?
I guess at this point, you're authorizing staff.
Authorizing Connect's 2040 implementation program in the order as presented. in the
Okay,
minutes.
Okay, motion by Roger, second by Ethan. Those in favor, Corey?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Roger?
Aye.
Ethan?
Aye.
Chair says aye, motion carries. Thank you. 8C, authorize advertising the ordinance in reference to stray dog fees. We heard this back in May, discussed it then.
Right.
This puts it out there for the public to view it. Thoughts? Motion?
Make motion to authorize advertising stray dog fee ordinance.
Second?
Second.
Okay, motion by Ethan, second by Roger. Corey?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Roger?
Aye.
Ethan?
Aye.
And chair says aye. 9, managers report.
Walnut Street Extension, Lancaster Heritage Pathway, pre-construction meeting here, Monday, July the 11th. We expect at that point in time that the contractor will be given notice to proceed and that mobilization and construction will start shortly after that date. We'll know more about the schedule after we go through that pre-construction meeting. Obviously, as construction starts over there, you know, there are going to be noise, dust, you know, your typical construction issues coming off of that corridor. One of the really fortunate things in my view is that there'll be very little disruption to existing traffic on any existing roads.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it'll just
It'll
be,
appear and people will go, wow, how did
Yeah.
this road get here?
yeah, so.
Except for the neighbor.
Right, the people closest to it are gonna feel it for, you know, they're saying 18 months construction period, you know, might not be quite that long, but that's what they're planning for.
There's no, next to no blasting on the roadway, but the connection down on 30, the connection to 30, I'm assuming there's gonna be blasting.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That's a wall of
Yeah. And that is the roadway. I mean, that's,
once you get up on the code path. I mean,
yeah, the issue is that the grade that they have to take from where Walnut Street is at Route 30
yeah,
to get to a point where it can level out is a significant distance. I think it's, you know, it's like a 4% grade design, which is required. So it's not going to go up.
it's a 90-degree
It's-
grade, yeah, so they're gonna go from
It's
90
going to go
to
up.
4%.
Yeah,
So it's gonna go
it's going to
way
stretch
back.
out a pretty good distance before it gets to existing grade at the top. So, yeah, there's going to be a lot.
Can you walk from Ben Franklin Parkway all the way out 30? There's no fences or anything like that, or is there a hodgepodge?
Now
You mean right now?
Yeah,
It would be difficult to walk
okay.
from behind the college. Obviously, you get to Mill Cross Road, you better be able to jump quite a distance because there's nothing bridging over Mill Cross at this point. And then,
if you walked at Country Club Apartments there
yeah,
and headed west towards
Yeah.
where Roger's talking about, is this grade going to go past Country Club Apartments?
I forget
I
where it comes out.
want to say it's between Oak Grove, but the next road that I
Okay.
can't remember
Willow?
the name of,
Okay,
Willow?
Okay.
Willow
and Willow
and Country Club Apartments is where it
starts to level out.
level out.
Okay.
And 4%, is that PennDOT standards?
Yeah, whatever it
Statewide.
is. I said 4%. I'm not sure that's
It's a
accurate,
fixed
but
percentage
yeah,
across,
it was
across
all,
the state.
right. It was
Okay.
PennDOT design requirements, yeah.
Communication with the neighbors. Can we establish the same process we did for inviting to a meeting? Didn't we send out
postcard or something?
We sent letters out. The newsletter is going out the middle of July.
Okay.
So
Okay. And
we're going to have an
maybe-
article in there.
That may be just about the
and-
time it starts.
It's as good a timing as we could hope
Okay.
for.
Can we get it up on the website, get it up
Yes.
on social media that says, this project has been discussed and it's about to begin, folks? That'd be possible, yes.
Yep.
Thank you.
If we had social.
We'll use the police for now, but yeah.
Right.
Yep, we will do that.
Good, thank you. Thank you. Trail from Strasburg Pike to Oakview Road.
Right, county planning's indicated that we could proceed with the design work on this project, so we're right now finalizing the scope with McMahon, and we'll hope to bring that to you at your July 11 meeting for approval, so we can get that design started.
That's great. Okay. Anything else for the good of the order?
Not for me. no.
Okay, all right. Hearing none, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Ethan and Roger. Corey,
I,
Mike,
Aye.
Roger,
Aye.
Ethan,
Aye.
chair says aye. Good night, all. Thank you very much. Mike, thank you. I think you're in sunny Florida if I look at that sun on your forehead. So
That's it.
go enjoy yourself. Tell your family we said thank you very much. I'm sure they're all waiting in the background there.
Okay.
Thanks. Corey,
ya.
thanks for signing
See ya.
on. Hope you're feeling better, man.